Initiation by Elisabeth Haich. Chapter 23. He. That evening, I leave the palace with Menu. Wearing heavy veils, we walk through the long colonnade from the palace to the temple, on our way to the high priest, my father's brother, the son of God, Ptahhotep. Ptahhotep is the highest of all priests. At the same time, however, he is the highest physician and architect because he knows and masters all the secrets of nature. He has come to earth with the duty and the task of leading the sons of men in their spiritual life and initiating them in the sciences. He stands above Father because he never identified himself with his body, whereas Father married and thus anchored himself more firmly in the material plane. Without talking, we make our way to the temple. Menu has learned to keep silent when I am withdrawn in thought. A neophyte awaiting us before the temple takes me inside. Menu remains in the antechamber. At the end of another long colonnade, Ptahhotep awaits me in a little reception room. The neophyte remains outside. There he sits, the representative of God. I see him for the first time, close to, and his eyes overpower me. Oh, these eyes, dark blue, such deep dark blue that they almost look black. They are so dark because they are bottomless, as endlessly deep as the vault of heaven itself. When one looks into the eyes of the sons of men, one easily sees the bottom. In these eyes, one sees their soul, their whole character. One sees individual eyes. Ptahhotep's eyes are completely different. These eyes have no bottom at all, and looking at them is like looking into the infinity of the sky on a starry night. In these eyes, there is nothing personal, nothing individual, only an endless depth where eternity is at home. The whole world, all creation, lies within these eyes. I have recognized myself in these eyes, and from the very first moment felt absolute confidence because I know these eyes know me and contain me within themselves. I know I am in him, and he is in me and loves me as himself because I actually am he, and he and I are a complete unity. He is love incarnate, and I feel this infinite love penetrating me, glowing within me. Moved to the depth of my being, I fall to my knees before him. Ptahhotep holds out his hand, raises me to my feet, and says, "My little daughter, never bend your knees before a visible form. Do not humble within yourself the divinity that every living being carries within itself. The same God manifests himself through you, through me, and through the entire created world. God alone is the only one before whom you can fall to your knees. Now rise and tell me why you've come." "Father of my soul," I say as I arise, "I want initiation." Ptahhotep asks, "Do you know what initiation is? What does it mean to you when you say you want to be initiated?" "I don't know exactly what it consists of, but I want to be omniscient. I feel like a prisoner in my body, as if I were feeling my way around in darkness, completely at the misery of invisible forces I do not know and therefore cannot control. I want to be able to see everything clearly. I want to be all-knowing like you and Father and the other initiates." Ptahhotep answers, "Initiation means becoming conscious. You are now conscious to a degree corresponding to the resistance of your nerves and body. When a person becomes conscious to a higher spiritual degree, he automatically guides higher, stronger, more penetrating powers into his body. For this reason, he must also raise the level of resistance of his nerves and body. To achieve the supreme divinely creative degree of consciousness, while at the same time increasing the resistance of the nerves to the supreme degree, in order to be able to endure this divine condition without harm to the body, that's what initiation means. Initiation also entails omnipotence and omniscience. I understand. Father of my soul, that's exactly what I am longing for. Ptahhotep looks at me silently for a time, and I feel his glance going completely through every fiber of my being. Finally, he says, "You will be initiated, but not now. You are not ready for it yet in every respect. You have not learned to control the divinely creative power within your body. And if you make yourself conscious of this power on the spiritual plane before having learned to control it in its physical manifestation, this would mean a very great danger for you." What kind of danger, Father of my soul? There would be the danger of your possibly burning your nerve centers. If you achieve the highest level of spiritual consciousness and thus acquire control over this power, you could do yourself great harm by guiding this power into your lower nerve centers. In this case, your consciousness would sink lower than the level at which it was born in this life. You have no experience yet in the guidance of this power. The awakening of consciousness must begin on the lowest level in the scale of manifestations, because then you will be only guiding into your body power corresponding to the level of your development, i.e. power your nerves can bear without harm. In this way, the nerves have strong enough resistance to carry the forces conducted into them. Father of my soul, I reply, what does it mean to conduct divine power into your body and to experience this power in the body? How can I learn to know and control the power of its physical manifestation? If that's how initiation begins, and I must first go through this experience, then I'd like to do it immediately so that I can prepare myself for the higher initiation. Up to now, Ptahhotep's divinely noble face had been as motionless as an alabaster statue, with only his eyes glowing brightly. But now, at these words of mine, the calm features of his face break out into a smile, while his eyes radiate even more light and more understanding. Immediately, he echoes, "That is not possible, my child. To become conscious of divinely creative forces on the lowest level of the scale of manifestations means to experience physical love. You must wait until some young man appeals to you, until his positive manly radiation awakens your heart and makes it glow with negative feminine power. You must come to know this power of love, for unless you have this experience behind you, you cannot control it. It would always represent a constant temptation, involving the greater danger of your falling to a much lower level of consciousness than the one you're on now. Father of my soul, I will never fall prey to physical love. Love is not a temptation for me, and I am not afraid of this danger because it really isn't a danger for me. Please permit me to be initiated." Ptahhotep turns quite serious again, and he says, "My child, you only think that love could not be a danger for you because you do not know this tremendous force. To be courageous in the face of a danger we do not know is neither courage nor power, but only ignorance and weakness. Because of your lack of experience, you do not know the temptation of love, and you believe that you are able to face this force. But don't forget that love is also the manifestation of divine creative force and is therefore as strong as God himself. You cannot destroy this creative force, you could only transform it. But if you don't know this force, how can you know how it can be transformed? Be a good girl now and go home and wait till your destiny brings you this experience. When you have found out what love means in its full reality, when you have experienced it and clearly know what this force is, then you can come back and I will give you your initiation. At this, I threw myself on my knees before him, embraced his feet and begged him desperately, "No, no, don't send me away. Don't deny me initiation. I will resist all temptations of love. I will not vacillate. I beg of you, give me initiation." Ptahhotep smiles again and strokes my hair. I feel tremendous power flowing through his hand and into my head like a strong current. "Truly," he says, "I am not accustomed to this type of behavior. Do you think, my child, that when I tell you I won't initiate you and you throw yourself on your knees before me, that this will change my mind? One of the requirements of initiation is absolute self-control. Child, you still have a long way to go on the path of self-control, and your self-assurance is not in equilibrium with your experiences. First, gain the necessary experience, and then you can come back." I see that he has nothing more to say. I stand up and take leave of him. "Father of my soul, I'll go now. But you're not going to abandon me, are you? May I come back to you again some other time?" Ptahhotep answers with ineffable love, "I know that you have been alone very much since your early childhood, and you are still alone. It just had to be that way so that you could develop your self-reliance. But you are never alone, and you must feel that, really. You are united with us by the eternal band of the highest laws of affinity and association. I am always with you, even when you do not know it. I knew before you did that you were coming to me today with this request, and I also know what will follow. But there are laws which even we must obey. You belong to us." I bow low before him to receive his benediction. Then I go. Waiting for me in the antechamber, Menu asks, "How was it? What did the Son of God tell you? Please tell me everything right away. I just couldn't understand what was keeping you so long. Please tell me, are you going to be initiated?" "The Son of God will not give it to me. He says I haven't had any experience in earthly life." "Thank God," says Menu, beaming with joy. "Didn't I tell you it wouldn't be good for you to be initiated? I knew it." Yes, Menu. You know everything better, but just leave me in peace now. I want to put some order in my thinking." And we walk on silently back to the palace. All night long and all next day, I can only think of Ptahhotep, the representative of God. I have known that on the basis of my ancestry, I belong to the sons of God. But it was a great experience to hear from him that he is the guardian of my soul. He is the visible representative of God here on earth. And I know I could speak as openly to him about my most secret thoughts as in my most innermost prayers to God. His eyes saw right through me. His glance illuminated the hiddenmost corners of my soul, and that made me happy. It's so wonderful to know that I belong to a living being who understands me without words and who can never be angry with me, and because he sees everything from above, just as God himself does. I don't need to explain to him what I mean or why I want to do something or why I want to achieve something, as I am accustomed to have to do with my tutors. Ptahhotep sees the most secret motives behind my thoughts and my deeds, even those that I'm not conscious of myself. I don't even need to say a word to him. It is enough when I merely stand before me. He sees me. His spirit is open for me, and I feel I'm in constant contact with him. I even felt it before I met him. I felt this strong force as steel was guiding me, and now I know that this force was and is his radiation. I know that he sees me even when I am not with him. Even now I feel his eyes upon me. Whatever I do or think is not hidden before him. And in his case, he can also see that I cannot take no for an answer on the question of being initiated. Excuse me. No, I can't see why I should first have to have experiences in love behind me. I'll never fall in love. Men only interest me to the extent that I expect them to notice and admire my beauty. Since they all do that, it's quite enough for me. For vanity is only at work in me when I am in the company of others. When I am alone, there is only one wish that fills my soul: initiation. I cannot and will not wait until I have the experience of falling in love, because I never will. And so that evening, accompanied by a very worried Menu, I go again to Ptahhotep to ask him once more for my initiation. Once again, Menu awaits in the antechamber, while the neophyte takes me to the garden where Ptahhotep is sitting under the palm trees. I bow before him. He returns my greeting. He looks at me with his shining eyes. I feel he's looking into me, and he waits. I stand and I say nothing. Excuse me. Why should I speak when I know anyway? Why should I speak when he knows anyway what I want? He reads my thoughts. He lets me stand. Finally, he gets up. He lays his hands on my shoulders and he asks, "Why have you come?" "Father of my soul," I reply, "why do you ask when you already know anyway? I am unhappy because you refuse to initiate me. I have no other wishes, no other thoughts, only initiation. Please give me initiation." Ptahhotep strokes my hair lovingly and says quite earnestly and almost sadly, "I gave you your answer yesterday. Just be calm and have patience. Remember what I told you yesterday about creative power and live your life as other young people do. Occupy yourself with your flowers and with your animals. Go and play with other young people. Enjoy yourself. And for a time, don't think about initiation." "Father," I reply in agitation, "I can only think about initiation. Whatever I do guides my thoughts directly back to initiation. When I look at my flowers or when I watch my turtles crawling back and forth, living their life as wisely as if they had an intellect, I run into secrets and mysteries to which I would like to know the answers. I would like to know everything, understand everything. I'd like to be initiated." "If the turtles had an intellect," says Ptahhotep, smiling, "they wouldn't lead such a wise life. And now you don't want to be wise because you have an intellect, but because you have too much intellect. But now just try with your excellent intellect to understand that you are still young, too young to be initiated. Come back again when you have your earthly experience behind you. Then I will give you your initiation." Oh my, it's not so easy to deal with Ptahhotep as with my dear old Menu. Ptahhotep is hard, and all my strength bounces off him like arrows off a stone wall. Again I bow low before him and I go. But outside, I answer Menu's questions in a spirit of rage and desperation. Rage because Ptahhotep thinks I am too young. Desperation because I stand powerless in the face of time rising up before me like an impenetrable wall, as invincible as Ptahhotep himself. All that night I can't sleep again, and all the next day I pace back and forth in my room, as restless and unhappy as the trained lions in the lion's court. Through being born into my body, my consciousness has been dulled and deadened. I feel as if I were in perpetual darkness. I want to see clearly, even though I am imprisoned in the body. I want to know. I want to be initiated. Why should I wait? If love is a matter of indifference to me now, it will still be when I am initiated and omniscient. I already know that physical love is only a necessity of nature to carry on the race. Why should it be dangerous for me not to know this from experience? I have my intellect and my consciousness, and they will protect me from danger. I won't fall into nature's trap, the trap of love. I'll be able to resist this temptation, all right. In this manner, I brood all day long, and by the time evening comes, I just can't stand it any longer. I take my veil, and I go again with Menu through the long colonnade to the temple, to Ptahhotep. I want to tell him I'm not afraid of the temptation, that I'll be strong enough that he can initiate me. Oh, how blind I was, how foolish, as if Ptahhotep had not seen the future clearly, as if he had not known how everything was going to turn out. But even he must obey the divine law and watch me patiently as I run headlong into my undoing. Watch patiently as I plunge head over heels into an abyss, only to have to climb out later by my own strength. He receives me again in his little reception room. I enter, bow, and I tell him, with all the determination I can muster, Father of my soul, I wanted to obey you, but I cannot. I long so much for knowledge that I've come back again. I cannot see why I should wait when I am absolutely sure I have enough strength to withstand the temptations of physical love. I am strong enough. I have self-control. Please, give me the initiation. At this, Ptahhotep closes his shining eyes and remains motionless a long time. I wait with inward impatience, but outwardly without moving a muscle, in order not to disturb him. Finally, Ptahhotep opens his eyes. He stands up, comes over to me, takes my hands in his, and he says, 3 times you have asked to be initiated, 3 times, despite my refusal. It is a law that when the member of the tribe, the sons of God, asks 3 times to be initiated, we cannot refuse him any longer. It is a sign that initiation is necessary for him, regardless of the danger he may risk as a result of it. I will speak to your physical father. We will need to discuss how you can carry on your duties during the time of initiation. Other neophytes normally live in the temple during this time, but with you, we will have to make an exception because you have to fulfill the duties of the wife of the Pharaoh. Now, go in peace. I feel like throwing myself about his neck to thank him for giving me his permission to be initiated, but I prefer to show him I can control myself. I stand motionless, and my eyes express my joy. Ptahhotep smiles at me, and he says, what you've done in thought, you've already done. Don't forget it. Oh, Father, if you already regard me as having done it, then I will really. And with that, I throw myself into his arms and kiss his noble face right and left. I thank you. I thank you. How wonderful. I'm going to be initiated. Initiated. Yes, I can see you have tremendous self-control. Says Ptahhotep. Only now, Father, I answer with joyous laugh. Only now. After all, you're not only the high priest, but my own blood uncle. So I can kiss you, can't I? But when I'm initiated, you will see how serious I am and how much self-control I have. Yes, I know, says Ptahhotep, embracing me lovingly. Then he strokes my head again and he leads me to the door, and we take leave of each other. Dancing and skipping, practically walking on air, I go back to the palace with Menu. I am infinitely happy. But Menu, from the moment she hears that I am to be initiated in the temple, cries and wrings her hands continually, as if I were dying. Her lamentations spoil the fun for me, and I feel as if surrounded by invisible shadows. Finally, at bedtime, when she starts again to talk about her gloomy forebodings, my patience is at an end. Look, Menu, I tell her, you know they wanted to take you away from me after my 16th birthday when I was presented to the country as the Pharaoh's wife. You know that according to the rules, I should be surrounded by ladies of the court. It took me a hard fight to get the Pharaoh to agree to your staying on with me and to my being accompanied by ladies of the court only on high state occasions. The way things have been in the past. But if you act in this way, I surely will have you sent away and take on the ladies of the court. To be sure, most of them are terribly boring, but at least they don't interfere in my private affairs. Menu, poor old fat Menu, she is so frightened at my words that she stops crying immediately. She sits down on the floor beside my bed and she looks at me silently, but with so much love, so much care and solicitude that I can't help bursting out laughing. Throwing my arms about her, I tell her, just calm down, Menu. I'm not going to send you away. Never. I love you. You're the only person I really and truly love. No, you are the only person who really and truly loves me with all your heart. I'll always want you with me. Just calm your fears. The initiation will not harm me. Only help me. Ptahhotep will take care of me. He will be with me always. Then, in leaving, Menu says, I hope the initiation really won't harm you, but I'm always afraid when I see the big flashes of lightning and hear the thunder coming out of the pyramids. I hope you won't have anything to do with that. No, Menu. Now be a good girl and go to bed, I tell her, and Menu leaves. But for a while, I ponder over her parting remark. Lightning and thunder coming out of the pyramid? Yes, it's true. Ever since I was a little child, I've known that lightning and thunder have struck out of the pyramid occasionally. And after that it would rain. It would always, as a matter of course of life itself. And I never gave it a second thought. But now, when I am initiated in the temple, I will probably learn the secret behind this phenomenon too. Then, with a great and wonderful feeling of expectation, I fall asleep.